What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the Yankees on Deck podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cunningham, and what a series to start in Cleveland. The Yankees sweep the Guardians today in the doubleheader. They take both games without a doubt. I mean, what a start to the series. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better day. I mean, doubleheaders, especially, when you just look at the fact that you're going to have to use a lot of arms and, playing back to back in one day. I mean, kind of scary. But the Yankees win both these games. They won the first one 3-2 this afternoon, and they just capped off the second one tonight 8-2. And now they move to 12-3. They're the first place team in the AL East still. The Orioles lost today, and look, they improved their standing. The Yankees, the Guardians, they came into the series 9-3, first in the AL Central. Look, they came in two teams, best AL record team-wise, like two best AL teams to start, and the Yankees took care of business today. They showed out. Props to a lot of guys. Cody Petit, who started the second game tonight, and he was magnificent. We didn't know what we were going to get from this guy. I talked a little bit about this guy in the offseason when the Yankees acquired him, and I mentioned how Michael Kay talked about him a bit as well on the Michael Kay show on WFAN, and how a lot of rival scouts were saying, watch out for Cody Petit. This guy, he doesn't overpower you. He doesn't throw more than 94. Today, usually he throws like 91, 92. The broadcast booth is saying. Today, he got up to 93, 94. So he doesn't overwhelm you, but the guy was really moving the ball today all over the zone. His pitches were working. He was locating his fastball where he needed to, and that was huge. He's not a guy that's going to overpower you, right? He's usually, 94, and this is his Yankee debut. He missed prior to last year because of Tommy John surgery. So, this guy, it was great to see. He was working the four-seam fastball, got up to 94. Changeup looked great. Slider looked great. Sinker, curve. He was getting a lot of weak contact, quick outs too. When he came in, he was getting a lot of quick outs, which is what this team desperately needed today. And also, to save the bullpen. Cody Petit went 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, 1 run, 4 strikeouts. What a debut. I said, too, on Twitter, look, the bullpen's got to be ready for the second game because, in that first game, we had Clark Schmidt pitch, and he did really well. He went 5 innings, only gave up 3 hits, 1 run. He did have a lot of walks, 5 walks, but he had 7 strikeouts. So he really, he got a lot of outs, and was able to get 15 outs, and then the bullpen, had to finish it off and get 12 outs. So, we didn't have to use the bullpen a ton in the first game, as much as we have in the past to start the season. But we knew that, coming into the second game, we didn't know what we were going to get from Cody Petit. Cody Petit, a guy who last pitched a few years ago on the Marlins, had around a 4.5 ERA, nothing special. And spring training, he wasn't good. And, I said on Twitter, I don't know what we're going to get from this guy today. So the bullpen's got to be ready, which is all right. It could be a bullpen game. I was hoping maybe Cody Petit could give us 2 innings, 2-3 innings. And then he was rolling out of the gate. Yankees got on the board, with those 2 runs in the first. And Cody Petit comes out and he's dealing. He's rolling. He's getting quick outs. And so then you're like, okay, this guy can give us a little something. And that's what he did. He gave way more than the Yankees could have asked. Honestly, I think the Yankees were hoping at least to get hopefully 2-3 innings from this guy, and then they could turn over the bullpen. And that's why they were saying Luis Hill could be available out of the bullpen today. But preferably, they didn't want to have to use Luis Hill because they want to save him for the Toronto series. So the reason the Yankees had to call up Cody Petit today was because they're playing 2 games back-to-back. And, that doesn't work from the 1 through 5 starting rotation. You need another arm, to pitch one of those games. And Cody Petit was like that 27th man on the roster that they called up to pitch that game. So then they don't have to use Luis Hill, and they can save him for his scheduled start, which is going to be Monday in Toronto. And tomorrow Cortez will get the ball. So everything worked out perfectly today, honestly. And they did say Luis Hill would be available, on the bullpen if needed, but we didn't need it. We didn't need it. Yankees were able to score a lot more runs this game. They were able to give Petit a good cushion. 8-0. Petit did give up the home run to former Yankee Estevan Florial. But other than that, he was magnificent. Couldn't have asked for a better debut from Cody Petit tonight. And really is the reason why I think one of the big reasons why the Yankees were able to win this game and save the bullpen too. We talk about the bullpen, didn't have to really rely much on the bullpen this game. 2 bullpen arms came out. Dennis Santana pitched 2 innings, relieving Cody Petit after 6, and then Marinaccio got the 9th. Marinaccio came in the 9th. The changeup looked terrible. He was hanging it. First batter, deep fly ball out. It was Jose Ramirez. Like he almost got that. He almost hit him out. And then the second guy that came up, Josh Naylor, he took him deep. Again, just like a flat changeup, no movement, heart of the zone. Naylor took him deep. But Marinaccio was able to work through. He was able to get out of it. Did have a strikeout, so did, fix it up a little bit. But he didn't really look sharp. But it was fine. We were up 8-1, 7-run lead. You're going to throw a guy out there, Marinaccio, who just got called back up, by the way, who has been struggling. Marinaccio, he struggled mightily in training, got demoted. He struggled a lot last year, got demoted. So this is a guy that needed a little bit of a confidence boost. So that's why Aaron Boone was going to throw him out there. And plus, too, you have a 7-run lead. No need to use your big guns in the bullpen unless things go haywire, which thankfully they didn't. So that was that. And as for the Guardians, in this second game, they had Tristan McKenzie start. He went 4 innings, gave up 4 hits, 5 earned runs, 6 walks. That's a lot. Yeah, that's the Yankees' MO, guys. They work at bats, and they did that tonight. Tristan McKenzie was around 70 pitches by the 4th inning. I mean, that's fantastic. That's what the Yankees tend to do almost every night. McKenzie also wasn't missing a lot of bats, too. Only had 1 strikeout. Did give up the home run to – who was that home run to? Juan Soto, 3-run homer. I mean, Juan Soto, look, he scuffled a bit the first game. He was 0 for 4 the first game, couple of strikeouts. And then the second game, 3-0 count from Tristan McKenzie. Yankees give him the green light. 3-run homer. Yankees up 6-0. And, the Yankees, first inning, they got bases loaded. No outs. They're able to bring in 2 runs. But you were like, I wish they kind of did more damage there. But Anthony Rizzo had a clutch RBI single. He literally just flipped the bat out there. Was able to do that. And Anthony Volpe out of the leadoff spot. I mean, this guy's been magnificent. He's been working walks. He was 2 for 4 in tonight's game. And in the first game, he was hitting the ball incredibly hard. So he did go 0 for 4, but he got robbed a few times. He was spraying the ball over the field, hitting it really hard. Just one of them right at a guy, and then the other one, the guy dove for it. That's baseball. But he looks magnificent right now at a leadoff spot. He looks like a totally different player, like he's been to start this year. I mean, this is a guy, he can keep this up. He can be our leadoff hitter for at least the next decade. And he's 22. So you really can't ask for much right now from Anthony Volpe. I mean, he's been magnificent. Aaron Judge, he got a hit tonight that was good to see. Double down the line. Had a walk, 1 for 4. And then the first game, too, Judge had a couple of hits. So I think he's close to getting out of it, hopefully. A couple at bats, balls that he was popping up that he could have drove. His swing, watching it looks like he's still a bit tick off. But you had Juan Soto. You had a lot of guys contributing today. Juan Soto, Oswaldo Cabrera, he was huge, had a big double in the second game. And in the first game, too, he had a big 2-run homer that we'll talk about. I want to talk. I know it's kind of hard to order this because I want to talk about like the most recent game, but I also want to cover the first game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk, more about the second game, and then I'll get to the first game. I think that's what I'm going to do because, second game, it's most recent, it's most fresh on my memory. So I want to cover that, get that out of the way, and then we're going to go and talk about the second game. So to wrap up the second game, Yankees had 9 hits, and the offense scored 8 runs. Much better showing today. Not today, like tonight, compared to earlier when in the first game they only scored 3 runs. And I mean, Volpe at bats were amazing. Had an RBI single, 2 for 4 walk. I mean, he's a couple of stolen bases too. I mean, he was running like crazy on the bases. Had 2 stolen bases. He gets on. He wrecks havoc. Amazing jumps, just amazing. A+ day for Volpe, without a doubt. Even when he went for the first game, but just the at bats, like everything has been amazing from him. Juan Soto in the second game, 2 for 3. Talked about the 3-run homer, huge. 2 walks as well. I mean, Juan Soto, and he got into that 3-0 count, and they gave him the green light. The Yankees, were up, by a few runs, and he had 2 runners on the bases, and so they told Juan Soto, hey, go swing it, man, go swing it. We're up 3-0. We have runners on first and second, 2 outs, 3-0 count. You don't need to work a walk every time. If you get a pitch right there, let it loose. And he did. 104 miles an hour off the bat, 408 feet to dead center. Launch angle at 28 degrees. I mean, really couldn't have asked for more. I mean, man, batting average now up to a 333. OPS over 1,000. I mean, geez. Juan Soto is as advertised, people. Okay, and look, you got these ridiculous WFAN hosts saying, especially after the Marlins series, Juan Soto, he's working walks. He shouldn't be working walks. He should be trying to do damage. Are you freaking kidding me? Juan Soto, this is his game. You want to know why Juan Soto hits the way he hits and does as well as he does? It's because he doesn't swing at crap. So you want Juan Soto to not chase, take the walks because you want him to do damage. Okay, so you want him to swing at crap and then get out? I mean, how of a moronic take is that? There are WFAN hosts actually saying that. It's ridiculous. So you want him to swing at balls. You want him to swing at pitchers' pitches and get out. As to an alternative of, he can work a walk and get on base and keep it alive. Look, and they're saying that because Judge hitting behind him hasn't been hitting well. He's been struggling out of the gate. But I mean, so because of that, you're going to tell Soto, a professional hitter, to swing at pitches that are outside the zone, not good pitches to hit at, and most likely make an out when he can work the walk, get on base, and still give an amazing hitter in Judge, who, yes, is slumping, but a chance to get out of it, a chance to do damage with Juan Soto now on base? Come on, stop that crap. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Those guys on WFAN, a lot of that, they just say that for clicks. I mean, that was just the dumbest thing I ever heard this week. Because guess what? Juan Soto does do damage because he's a professional hitter, the most professional hitter in baseball, actually. I think the best hitter in baseball, like I've said repeatedly, because he works his walks. He doesn't swing a crap. He doesn't go outside of the zone much. Therefore, he doesn't strike out much. And therefore, when he gets his pitch, he knows it's a really freaking good pitch, and he does damage because he's Juan Soto. So the fact that, I got to listen to radio hosts complain about that, they look for anything to complain about. Anything. Everything and anything they look to complain about. It's ridiculous. That was the biggest nonsense I ever heard, and I honestly didn't even really want to bring it up. But because people out there are actually saying that they have such a big platform, I want to bring it up because it's so ridiculous and idiotic of a statement that it just needed to be said. Because Juan Soto, this is who he is. He's a professional hitter. And also, too, he gets the clutch hits when he needs to. He's not just a power hitter. He's not just a dead pull hitter. He goes line to line, gap to gap. He never wastes an at-bat. So if you're asking Juan Soto to waste an at-bat and swing at bad pitches simply because the guy hitting behind him is in a slump, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. Anyway, Anthony Rizzo had a great day today. In the second game, he was 2 for 5. with that RBI we talked about in the first. Giancarlo Stanton was 0 for 4, but he did drive in a run, worked the walk. I mean, they were afraid to pitch to him. They especially walked him in that first inning. They walked in a run. They didn't want to pitch to Stan. McKenzie was afraid to pitch to him, and you can't blame him because Stan has been red hot this last week and a half. So you're a fool for wanting to give Stan anything close to hit out of the park with bases loaded. So that made sense. Gleyber Torres, he's still scuffling. He was 1 for 4 today, but we'll talk about him a little bit more later. And as it relates to the first game, Alex Verdugo had a great day. Had a couple hits that first game, but tonight he was 1 for 3, so he really carried over the second game to a good game. He's just, when I watch Alex Verdugo, he had 2 walks, by the way, too. He's got great plate discipline, like Soto. He doesn't have, nowhere near the same pop or anything, but he can have a lot of professional at-bats, and he knows to work the other way because the fielders shift on him. I know they banned the shift, but they do. There is a part of the baseball rules where, like, you can have, like, a partial shift, not like a full shift. So they do, like, partially shift him, right? They play him more up the middle. And so there's a gaping hole on the third base side, like by shortstop too. And he poked a few balls today right through that gap, right down the line, got a double. I mean, he did that a couple times today, and that was super impressive. Just playing where the ball is pitched and going with it the other way when you need to, getting that base hit. It may not have hit the ball super hard, but it hits a hit. I mean, and then the energy brings. He made an amazing diving play too in the 9th inning this game. I mean, sorry, no, that was the 8th inning. Made an amazing diving catch on the run. He looks super comfortable, man. He looks comfortable in left field. He's looking more comfortable at the plate. And I'm excited because this guy maybe, especially if you have like an injury, which you don't hope for, this is a guy that you could slot in the leadoff spot. I mean, he could be like a table setter kind of guy. Like, that's who he kind of profiles as. And he did hit leadoff a bit for Boston for a while at certain stretches. So, hey, you never know. I mean, he's been really picking it up, and I'm really glad to see what he did today. It was great. And then Oswaldo Cabrera, he was 1 for 5 this game, but had a huge clutch double down the line. I mean, he's still been on fire, batting average at .317. I mean, and we'll talk about him the first game too. Had a big home run. Then Austin Wells, he's been really scuffling. Him and Trevino haven't done anything hitting-wise. But Austin Wells, he did, drive a ball left center today to get the sac fly. So 3 at-bats, no hits, but he did, get an RBI, sac fly. His average is at 115. It's pretty dreadful, but he's young. Look, he's 24. Hopefully he figures it out soon. He does have pop, though. There's been a couple balls, like just these last few series, he's hit pretty hard, just missed them getting out. So, look, hopefully he gets it going soon because he's young. And last year in September, he showed a lot of power. I mean, he was one of the hottest hitters for our team in September, just really hitting the cover off the ball. So hopefully he can get it going because that's who he profiles as. And his defense is getting better day by day. So, we'll see. Hopefully he can pick it up. And as I said, Trevino was out of the lineup, of course, obviously, because Wells was doing the catching. And then for the Guardians, I mean, they couldn't get it going on offense at all, really. Not in this game, not in the first game. Their leadoff hitter, Stephen Kwan, was 1 for 3. Jimenez, their second baseman, 1 for 4. Jose Ramirez, their big bopper, he DH'd this game. He was 0 for 4. He almost hit a ball out in the 9th off Marinaccio. He hit it on kind of the end of the bat, but he didn't get it. He missed some good pitches to hit today. Josh Naylor, their power hitting first baseman, he had a good day at the plate, 2 for 4 with a home run in the 9th. But they were so far down at that point. It was 8-1, that made it 8-2. It was like, okay. Estevan Florial, he's had a rough start for the Guardians. He's primarily been playing right field and left field for them. He did play right field tonight in the second game, and he did play as well in the first game. And look, he did have a home run, that one home run off Cody Petit in the fifth inning. So, I mean, look, that's, I guess, positive to see because coming into this game, he's hitting well under 200, batting average now at 150. So, former Yankee that never really got a shot, profiles as a power hitting lefty outfielder, a guy that is what they call like the AAA kind of guy who just is hit well in the minors consistently, but then when they call him up, he just doesn't hit. One of those kind of guys, like he just can't. He can figure it out in the minors, but not the majors. And he hasn't been for them. Yankees released him, and then the Guardians picked him up. So he was out of options with the Yankees. They had to get rid of him. And they weren't really giving him any consistent playing time, too, all these years. He was once a top prospect for us, though. He was once a top prospect, but he just never really got a shake for us. Now the Guardians are giving him consistent playing time to start this year, but he hasn't been good. So, to start, obviously, 14 games in, hasn't been good. But, we'll see. I mean, that was good for him at least. Get that homer, and maybe he'll heat up. And Laureano got the start in the second game as well. He didn't do anything, 0 for 2. Yeah, I mean, or no, sorry, he was 0 for 4. I was looking at the first game by accident. David Fry, their catcher, 1 for 3. And then that bottom of the order, 7 through 9, combined 2 for 9. I mean, they didn't really do anything. So that bottom of the order for the Guardians, Fry, Arias, Rocchio, it's brutal. Florio hasn't been good. Laureano hasn't been good. The former Oakland, who got busted for steroids and got picked up by Cleveland, he hasn't really done much. He did have a big double in the first game, but that's about it. He didn't do anything in the second game. Yeah, I mean, that really does it for the Guardians. They really could not get the big hit today in the second game, in neither game. They really couldn't get the big hit. So, and they used a ton of pitchers. McKenzie only went 4 innings. Not ideal. 5 earned runs, 6 walks. I mean, my goodness. And also, too, 1 strikeout. I mean, it wasn't missing bats. The fastball, Jeff Nelson. I love Jeff Nelson on the broadcast booth, by the way. Former Yankee pitcher, part of that late 90s Yankees teams. He was talking about Tristan McKenzie. Like, a lot of these years he's been in the big leagues, he's really utilized that fastball. He's played it up. Like, he doesn't throw super hard. Fastball is usually like 92, 93, but it plays up with his other pitches. Just in terms of him being a tall, lengthy guy and then, mixing in with changeups and his other off-speed pitches, a fastball plays a lot livelier is what he was talking about, which is true. But tonight you didn't see that. Fastball, his off-speed, it wasn't working. Fastball wasn't playing up what he usually does, what we've seen Tristan McKenzie pitching-wise, a few years ago. He didn't look like that Tristan McKenzie tonight. So, Yankees took advantage, working the count like crazy like they do. Then they brought in a bunch of relievers, Tyler Beatty, Smith, Parsons, Barlow. I mean, they used a lot of guys today, especially in the second game, though, because the Yankees offense really picked it up. So, yeah, and shout out to Cody Petit again. I mean, you couldn't, he doesn't overwhelm you. Off-speed pitches, mid to high 70s, and then that fastball doesn't overwhelm you. But he hit his spots tonight. He was working the corners, getting guys to chase, curveball, slider, changeup. I mean, he had the Guardians hitters off all night, and that was great to see. Fastball too. It looked like he was throwing a. Well, I guess it was either his fastball or sinker, but it kind of would like cut in, like it would start inside at the hitter and then like break in on the edge, on the inside edge. It was so nasty. And Cody Petit, we haven't seen a lot of this guy. He wasn't good in spring. Saw him a little bit, and then he gets called up for today because the Yankees need another arm because he's playing 2 games in a row, back to back, and he did way more than the Yankees could have expected him to do today. I mean, he really pitched his butt off, and fantastic. He's the player of the game. As great as the offense was, seeing Juan Soto hit that 3-run homer and the offense kind of explode the second game, put up 8 runs, I don't care. Cody Petit, we needed length from a starting pitcher in the second game to save the bullpen a bit, and he did that. He did that, and he went above and beyond. 6 innings, again, 6 hits, 1 run, 4 strikeouts, only gave up the lone solo home run. I mean, what more can you ask? And then Dennis Santana came in. He went 2 innings. He was great. I mean, the control when he first came in was kind of shaky. He walked the first batter in that 7th, and you're like, why are you walking this guy? It was the bottom of the order. They're up 8-1. But then he settled in. He got a strikeout in those 2 innings. And then Yankees were able to turn the ball over to Ron Marinaccio because it was still 8-1 at that point. And then he gives up the home run, but then he settles in, gets a strikeout. And it's kind of nice, too, because he was facing the bottom of the order pretty much, 7, 8, 9. I think it was 6, 7, 8, 9. And so, it's not like he was facing the top of the order or anything or the heart of it. So he was able to, kind of settle down a little bit after getting that home run and get after it again and get out of it. And he did. So all positive. And look, we didn't have to use any of our big arms in the second game, so that was huge. So give some of those guys a little bit of rest. And now we can go for the full sweep tomorrow, 3-game sweep, because we'll have some of these bullpen arms a little bit more rested. Didn't have to really utilize them on them a whole lot today. So that's huge. Huge. And I'm feeling pretty confident this team could sweep tomorrow. Nestor will get the ball. We'll see. We can use the bullpen because it's had a little bit of that rest. We didn't really have to utilize it on it too much in this doubleheader today, which is huge. I thought it was going to be the complete opposite, because usually doubleheaders for us are a nightmare. They were last year. So I think that about covers it for this second game. And then I want to get to the first game. Yeah, I mean, the Guardians, too, I also want to point out on the second game, runners in scoring position, they only had 2 opportunities, and they were 0 for 2. And the Yankees, runners in scoring position, honestly, they weren't great, especially to start the game when they had bases loaded, no outs, and they only got those 2 runs. They just, this game, too, they struggled a little bit, capitalizing, getting that big hit for a while with runners in scoring position, but it was not as bad as the first game, which we're about to cover. So I think that about does it for this first game. Yeah. Okay. We're done with the first. We're done with covering this second game, this most recent game. Now we're going to go to the first game. The first game was much tighter. Yankees won 3-2, and it started with Carlos Carrasco, also known as Cookie, big-time Cleveland pitcher, pitching for the Guardians for a number of years. And then he went to the Mets, and then now he's back with the Guardians. And he wasn't really too bad today. His final line, 4.2 innings pitched, 5 hits, only 1 earned run. Did have a lot of walks, 5 walks, had 2 strikeouts. So not terrible. I mean, the stat line is really not bad. He kept the team in the game, and, yeah, really walks were an issue, but it's really with every guy we face. Like, we take a lot of walks, which is a good thing. And but he did have 2 strikeouts and went almost 5 innings. So, yeah, I mean, he wasn't terrible. And the Yankees had a lot of opportunities to capitalize off him when they didn't. Had opportunity to capitalize, but they didn't. Especially in the top of the second, they had bases loaded. New Yankee Trent Grisham, who was in the San Diego Padres trade for Juan Soto, he came up. He's like a power lefty bat, but in San Diego, he hit under 200. I think he hit like a $180, struck out a lot. He's basically known as like a defensive guy. He was playing in center field to give Judge some rest in the first game because the Yankees DH Judge because he's been playing mostly center field, right? So Aaron Boone wanted to give him a little bit of rest, so he threw Trent Grisham out there. Fine. Bases loaded, no outs. Trent Grisham hits into a double play, but a run does come home because Cleveland's playing the infield back. Obviously, they're not going to play the infield in so early. And then Alex Verdugo, and then they just can't capitalize off of that. I believe the next guy strikes out. Who's after Grisham? Volpe, he gets out. So then next opportunities, they don't capitalize. It's crazy how that inning started too, because they had like second and third, no outs. And it was second and third, no outs in the first inning, and they couldn't score. And I was like, what are we doing? It was just bad. It was bad. They couldn't. Cabrera came up, struck out. Next guy, I believe it was like a pop out, and then ground out, and I'm like, oh man, terrible. Wasn't good. So many times they left runners on base, man. It was crazy. The team with runners in scoring position in this first game, they were 2 for 11. 2 for 11. It was awful. Hitting in double plays. Aaron Judge hit into a double play early on. And they couldn't, it was like 1-0 till the 6th inning. They were constantly getting runners in scoring position, and they could not capitalize. First and third, second and third, first and second, bases loaded, nada. Could not do it. It was super frustrating. So, yeah, and then we got to the top of the 6th, and the game didn't break open until then because in the top of the 6th, Oswaldo Cabrera, with a runner on second, hit a 2-run homer to stay red hot. One of the hottest hitters on this team, not named Juan Soto. And I also got to point out, too, the Yankees benched him 4 games in a row prior coming into the first game. They benched him in the 3rd game in the Toronto series, and then all 3 games in the Marlins series. Did not see any action. That's inexcusable. You're benching one of your hottest hitters coming into the year for 4 games over John Birdie. What are we doing? Are you kidding me? That doesn't even, I don't even have to explain. Oswaldo Cabrera is now hitting over 333. And you bench him. A guy hitting over 300 to start the year. Switch hitter. Nuts. Absolutely nuts. Somehow they thought that was okay. We go to the bottom of the 6th. And the defense. I'm trying to find the stat. I can't find it. But I don't quote me on this. I might be wrong. But I think the Yankees are either tied or they're leading for the league in errors. With the Oakland A's either being tied with them or they're above the A's right now. The errors are just ridiculous. In the bottom of the 6th, it was 3-0. Cleveland has runners on first and second. No outs. Ramirez comes up. And I'm super nervous at this point because Ramirez is like their best hitter by far. Hasn't gotten off the greatest start, but he's their go-to guy, power hitter. He's done a lot of damage off the Yankees in his career. He strikes out. Huge out, right? And then Tyler Freeman comes up for the Guardians. And, we have Caleb Ferguson pitching. He grounds a ball to up the middle, and Gleyber Torres fields it, right? It's his ball. It's closest to him. He's playing second base. He fields it, tags the bag, and then he tries to act like Robinson Cano, slinging the ball over to first base on the run, doesn't set his feet, and the ball goes away. Past Rizzo, terrible throw, wild throw, and 2 runs come in. And I was so pissed. I mean, all you had to do was set your feet and throw. Boom. Inning-ending double play. And those are the 2 runs the Guardians got all game. So if that didn't happen, we would have won 3-zip. I was so furious. Then Guardians were right back in the game. And this defense has been a problem. I mean, if you're a Yankee fan, which obviously you are if you're listening to this, and you've been watching the games, the number of errors these last few weeks, it's alarming. It's alarming. And we are at the top of the leaderboard in that category. Either tied with Oakland or at the lead. I saw the stat on Twitter. I believe don't quote me on this, I believe it's like 15 or 16 errors so far to start this year. I could be way off, but I'm pretty sure that's what I saw. And I tried doing the research. I tried finding the number on MLB.com because I guess that's where it was, but I couldn't find it. But we are at the top in errors in Major League Baseball as a team. It's bad. It's not good. Gleyber Torres hasn't been good. John Birdie had an error a few days ago. Rizzo has not been able to scoop balls, not keeping the glove down, balls getting by him. I mean, it's really bad right now, guys. If there's one biggest concern with this team right now that might honestly be a bigger concern right now than the pitching, it's the defense. It's been dreadful, absolutely dreadful. Anthony Volpe not too long ago, he had a throwing error. He threw the ball away. I mean, it's just these little things. First of all, got to stop with the bad throws, the errant throws. I mean, set your feet and throw. Come on, you're a major leaguer. This is ridiculous. We shouldn't have to cover this. Okay. Gleyber Torres, I mean, that was just pure laziness. That you're on the run, you're trying to be cool and sling the ball to first base. You got to show a little bit more care than that. Okay? He had plenty of time to get the guy. Look, and if he set his feet and he threw and the guy was safe, whatever. At least the ball's not thrown away and they get 2 runs because of it. I'd rather have that than giving up 2 runs because you're carelessness and you sling the ball thinking you're a hot shot and then you throw it away. I mean, sometimes I like Gleyber Torres, but sometimes he does boneheaded crap like that just makes no sense, and it just really pisses you off. He does that every now and again. So that was just really annoying, incredibly frustrating. And, Yankees, fortunately, were able to get out of it. They bring Ian Hamilton in. He gets the ground ball out, first and second, stays 3-2, and it stayed that way the rest of the game. But it was a nail biter, though. 3-2, you're only up 1 run, don't have a cushion, but the bullpen was able to hold it down. Clay Holmes was fantastic today. Came in the 9th, had 2 strikeouts, gave up a hit to Laureano, a double with no outs, and then you were thinking, oh, here we go. Double that, because of the wind, it didn't get out. The wind was blowing in at that point in the game, and, I don't know how the ball didn't get out. Luckily it didn't, but then Holmes, after that, he was able to settle in. He got Bo Naylor striking out. Then he got Estevan Florio on strikes, which honestly the umpire gave us. I mean, the umpire calls were awful today. I'll get to that in a minute. Very questionable call. It was ball 4 on a 3-2 count inside. Florio was livid. The video is pretty funny, actually, if you look it up. And then the third guy, Brian Rocchio, at the bottom of the order, number 9 hitter, he grounded out. Game over. Exhale. That was a stressful game. Nothing like the second game. But we come away with the win. Should have been 3-0, but whatever. So, and then Clark Schmidt. I mean, Clark Schmidt was great. He gave us some more length this time around. 5 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned. Did have a lot of walks, 5 walks. That was concerning. There were certain points he was being cute at the bottom of the order. 7, 8, 9. It was like, come on, dude. I mean, you got to attack the bottom of the order. These guys can't hit. There's a reason these guys are hitting towards the bottom of the order. Got to attack. He was getting too cute and finessing with the bottom of that order, and he's had that problem. That was kind of aggravating a little bit, but he did have 7 strikeouts. His stuff was moving all over the place. He looked fantastic. So I really, other than the walks from Clark Schmidt, I can't really get on him because he was great. Outside of the walks are still a little bit of an issue for him.
At times, he gets behind in counts, especially to guys that you shouldn't be afraid of. You shouldn't be afraid of the 79 hitter. Go after them. Look, I know it's a close game, but would you rather be facing 79 or top of the order or heart of the order? At that time, you're going to get really cute. I feel like at certain times he was getting way more aggressive with the heart of the order, guys like Ramirez and Naylor, than he was at the bottom of the order, and that makes no sense. The cutter looked really great for him today. He was getting a lot of broken bats, 93-mile-an-hour cutter, then he was mixing in that sinker, the sweeper, curve. I mean, he looked great. The walks were an issue, though. Again, that was the thing. 5 walks. You don't like to see that many walks. But 7 strikeouts. I mean, that shows you he had his stuff today. He had his stuff. Only gave up 3 hits. That was great to see. 1 earned run. ERA now 3.68. Look, he's really turning around these last few starts. Overall, I really haven't had many complaints about Clarke Schmidt to start the year, other than bringing up the fact how, first couple starts, I wanted some more length from him. But other than that, I mean, he's done his job in terms of, not giving up a whole lot of runs. So, got to give him credit there, And look, the reason the Yankees won this game was that, and because of the bullpen. The bullpen was lights out. Clay Holmes, made it a little stressful in the 9th leadoff double, but he settled down and his pitches were working. Ian Hamilton came in before him, gave 2 strong innings, only gave up 1 hit, strikeout. Gale Ferguson was great. Should have been out of that inning with the Torres error. Got the ground ball double play. So, those 3 guys came in, did the job. Schmidt was great. Cleveland had to use a lot of guys again. Carrasco only went 4.2. They had to bring in Sandlin, Morgan, Herron, Schletzky. They had to use a lot of guys. And offense for them wasn't good. They were 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Yankees weren't that great either, but they were 2 for 11. That was the difference maker. As Walter Cabrera was able to drive in those 2 runs when it was 1-0, that was the difference maker. As Walter Cabrera stays red hot, I don't know why he was on the bench. And also, too, Jose Trevino. I mean, what are you doing, dude? So I believe it was in the middle of the game. We're up 1-0. There's 2 outs. Trevino comes up, and he hits a pop fly to the right fielder. It's a pop fly, and the ball drops because the wind was nuts in the first game. It was moving the ball all sorts of directions. And I think maybe even, too, the sun a little bit was getting to the fielders. So the ball falls, and Trevino thinks he's fast enough to wheel it into a double, but he's out by a mile. He's out by a mile because he's slow, but when he hit the pop fly, he wasn't hustling at all out of the gate, which is another issue. I mean, do I need to explain this? When you hit the ball, you hustle? I mean, is this any cause for explanation? So he looked like a complete fool. He made an ass of himself, essentially. And at a time when the team was only up 1-0, and Clarke Schmidt was dealing and he needed more run support, and Trevino just made a complete ass of himself. So yeah, that really made no sense at all. And also, too, I forgot to mention too, one of the innings when it was bases loaded and we had no outs. One of the reasons it got to that point, or no, sorry, no, it was after, I believe, the second inning. When they went to the third inning, the Yankees just had multiple opportunities with runners in scoring position, like at least like 4 or 5 times, if not more than that. Like, I don't remember on the top of my head because doubleheaders are tough because now, like, the second game is in most of my memory. But in the first game, there were several opportunities, so many. They had runners in scoring position, and Judge hit a double play. Judge, he didn't hit a double play because the shortstop, whoever was fielding the ball to second, he came off the bag or whatever. And then it was first and third, right? And then so it was like 1 out or whatever. And then there was a pop-up in the infield, dropped, bases loaded, and then again, double play. Like, and I said on Twitter, like, this team is just allergic to double plays. I mean, when they have runners on base with no outs or 1 out, less than 2 outs, obviously, like, they just find ways to hit the double plays and not capitalize a lot of the time. And they were just, craving for that big hit in the first game. And luckily, Oswaldo Cabrera was able to give it to them. He got that big hit, the 2-run home run. He stays hot. And that's all you can ask, man. They finally got that big hit, and that's why they won that game. So, yeah, I mean, the first game, it was a nail-biter. Wasn't as smooth and relaxing as the second game. A lot of dumb mistakes. Fielding, Trevino, getting thrown out at second. I mean, but the Guardians, they didn't really do anything on offense, right? 2 runs they got was because of an error. So they didn't do anything. So that's why we won that game, really. The pitching was great. It was lights out, specifically the bullpen. And Yankees won a nail-biter, 3-2. So Yankees get the doubleheader sweep. They are now 12-3. The Orioles lost today to the Brewers, and they could get swept tomorrow. So Yankees are 12-3. Orioles are in second, 8-6. They're now 3.5 out with today's loss to Milwaukee, 11-5. The Rays are 8-7. Blue Jays 7-8, and Red Sox are 8-7 as well. I mean, it's what you want to see. It's what you want to see. Hopefully, we can get the sweep tomorrow, and that would be great. I'm expecting the sweep because this team, really, I didn't think we were going to win both these games. I thought our best bet was splitting. And the reason I was so adamant on we win the first game with Schmidt on the mound is because Cody Petit, we have no idea what we're going to get from this guy. I said on Twitter, I have no idea what we're going to get from this guy. Barely seen him. Was out all last year from Tommy John. Had a cup of tea with the Miami Marlins, 4.5 ERA. Not great. Yankees apparently think high of him. And I can see why after today's outing. He was magnificent against the Guardians team that coming into this series, was the other AL East team, behind us that got off to a red hot start. They were right behind us second. The Royals got off to a hot start too, and they're now 10-5. But the Guardians coming into this series today were 9-3. They had a better record. Now that's flipped, obviously because we won these 2 games, but they were second best AL team right behind us. So they were no joke, and Yankees capitalized. And look, even if we lose tomorrow, I'm still thrilled that we took 2 or 3 from the Guardians, who got off to a great start, looked like a good team, are missing their ace, Shane Bieber. So yeah, great. And the last thing I want to cover is the umpiring. My goodness. The umpiring is horrible, and it just continues to get worse. I don't know if you saw the clip from the other day. If not, look it up. Just search Angel Hernandez, Astros. So the Astros are playing the Rangers at Minute Maid, and there was a Astros pitcher on the mound facing a Rangers batter, and there were 3 pitches in the at-bat, and they were all like at least 5 or 6 inches off the plate. All of them. Outside. Strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, says Angel Hernandez. And people are just like, are you kidding me? The announcer's actual words were, are you kidding me? I mean, and this guy's still employed. We don't have robo-umps. Like I said previously, we don't have any better technology to help these umpires get it right when it matters. Look, when Esteban Florio went down on strikes for the second out in that 9th inning in the first game, that was huge. Yums bailed us out. Florio should have walked there. It should have been first and second. I mean, that was wild. Wild. Because there was a runner on second, no outs, and then if they got first and second, no outs, they would have been able to get to the top of the order with Kwan, who's scorching hot, hitting well over 300 at 383. I mean, that was terrible. They practically gave us the game at that point, if I'm being honest. And then, but earlier in the game, right, I believe it was the second inning. I could be wrong. I can't find it here on the score sheet, but it was early in the game,
and Juan Soto was on first, and a ball is hit to right field. I believe it was by Gleyber Torres, and Juan Soto had a really big jump off second. He wasn't running on the pitch, but he had a really big jump. The guy caught it. Juan Soto was racing back to first. Josh Naylor, the first baseman, who's a big guy, by the way, was getting the ball, right? And he had his foot on the back, but he was blocking the base path, blocking it entirely. So Juan Soto had no way of getting back unless he ran into this 250-pound first baseman and knocked him over, which he wasn't going to do, which qualifies as obstruction because you can't. The new rules have been adapted to this year where you cannot block the base path. The same way they had the catcher. The catcher can't block home plate. You need to create a path for the runner. You can't just stand on top of the plate and block the entire path, which is what Josh Naylor was doing. So Soto was originally called out. And then the Yankees do the replay challenge, obviously, because that's obstruction. You can't block the whole entire lane off from first base. Yankees challenge, and the umpires don't overrule it. They keep the call, the original call. I mean, what? Like, if you guys are gonna have rules and you don't implement them, what is the point of the rule? What is the whole point of the rule? It's in the rule book. I was on my Twitter thread. I saw it. People were taking screenshots of the rule from the MLB rule book online. That's rule. That's obstruction. And we have the whole replay system. They call New York, and because those guys do the replays, but they also should be well versed of the rule book. And clearly they weren't. The guy was standing on top of first base. Soto had no way of getting back. So I don't understand it. The umpiring this year has been the worst it's ever been. I don't remember a start to a season where it's been worse than it is now, where calls behind home plate are getting blown like at least a dozen times a game consistently, inning after inning, or they're doing these replays and they're not overturning calls they should overturn. What's the point of having a replay system? What's the point of having rules? What's the point of having this obstruction rule that they implemented and tweaked for this year if you're not going to follow it? If you're not going to follow it, what's the point? I mean, these umpires have to be held accountable, and they won't because you have umpires union, just like you have a players union and all this BS crap. Angel Hernandez could be the worst umpire by far, night after night after night, game after game, blow 3 calls in a row, and he's still an umpire. Where does that make sense? He's still an umpire at the highest level of baseball after blowing calls consistently 3 in a row the other day, and he's still somehow an umpire. I remember a playoff game I went to where he was umpiring first base. It was 2018 ALDS, Yankees Red Sox, Yankee Stadium. He blew 2 calls in a row at first base. Both of them had to get overturned. And they weren't even close. The guy was out by like 3 steps. I mean, and it's just crazy because with this union, everything, Angel Hernandez or umpires in general that aren't doing well, have declined, or just bad in general, they're not going to be held accountable ever. This is going to be a continued problem. So better get used to it. It's ridiculous. It's bullshit, but it's the way it is. That's the way the world works, apparently. You can't find a minor league umpire who's doing a heck of a job and call him up and replace him with an umpire at the MLB level like you can with a player. Nope, can't do it. That's out of the rule book. Nope, can't do it. I mean, give me a freaking break. And we have no technology. In the 21st century, we have no new technology implemented at the MLB level to help these umpires get it right more. No robo-umps, no better camera technology or replay or whatever. We have the replay system, but that's about it. I mean, come on.
Ridiculous. Fix that shit. Get it right, MLB. This is ridiculous. Night after night, we're watching our team and every team in baseball practically get screwed over by these incompetent umpires who will never be out of a job. What other job other than an umpire can you be this bad at your job and constantly get it wrong and still keep your job? That's the only job. You can consistently get it wrong, consistently be bad, and still keep your job. And Andrew Hernandez wants to wonder why he's not getting World Series games, and he thinks it's racial discrimination. No, dude, you just suck at your job. And this proves that. I wonder if he goes back into the clubhouse for umpires, and after the game, in their little locker room, and he watches these videos, and he watches these montages and these memes of how bad he is. I mean, is he embarrassed? I get it. We're human. We all make mistakes. But he is as bad gets. And there is no accountability whatsoever. You have your umpire scorecards. His are the lowest of the low. But is MLB doing anything about it? No, because he's still going out there and he's umpiring. They're not putting him for big games, World Series or anything, but he's still out there. There's no accountability. There's no, hey, if you continue to suck at your job, we're going to get rid of you. We're going to replace you. Nope, can't do it because of the unions. Thanks, unions. Thank the umpires unions for that. What a freaking waste. And then we wonder why Major League Baseball still has this problem, because you're keeping umpires that don't do the job and don't do it well, and they can't get replaced. And the technology hasn't been adapted the way it should. So either get robo-umps or get rid of this stupid umpires union and actually replace them with better umpires. That's it. That's all I got to say. Until that happens, people are going to keep complaining and saying it's bad. And guess what? It's going to be the same thing because, Major League Baseball isn't doing anything about it. Great, you have the replay system. But that doesn't do enough. That doesn't do it justice. Because guess what? You can only use the replay system for so many instances. You can't do it to replay balls and strikes. You can only really use it to replay balls that are put in the field, that are put in play. Can't use it for ball and strikes. I don't know why. Why can't you use it for balls and strikes? Can someone at Major League Baseball answer that for me? Now, I know in the minor leagues they're doing it for, like, a guy will, if he thinks it's a ball or a strike, like, he'll tap his head. But, I mean, why don't we have that yet? They've done that for a few years now, and we still don't have that. Anyway, complete disgrace. But the Yankees sweep the doubleheader. Get excited, folks. Hopefully they go for the sweep tomorrow, and then they will have the Toronto. Nestor Cortez gets the ball tomorrow, 1 o'clock start, and I'll have the postgame for you guys after, obviously. Let's go, Yankees. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you could like, subscribe, comment, I would really appreciate it, and I will see you all soon. Let's go, Yankees.